This is Alan Arth at the Public Library, and we're going to talk today a little bit about Dutch oven cooking. Dutch oven cooking is a very simple thing to do. If you can cook something in your oven at home, you can cook something outside. And I want to give you the basics of how to do that. Dutch ovens for cooking outside, there's basically two different kinds. There is an aluminum Dutch oven. You can get it in aluminum, which is good. It's light enough you can carry it if you wanted to backpack and do all your cooking in it. And I brought a little one. This is the cast iron one, which is real heavy. This is twice as heavy as the aluminum one. And they vary in size. This is the smallest one, which is 6 inches. And they range up to, the ones I have are 24 inches in diameter, a shallow one and a deep one for cooking roast and chickens and turkey or something like that. But the basics of a Dutch oven is, well, first of all, seasoning is important. When you get a Dutch oven, nowadays most of them are pre-seasoned, and by seasoned means that they're coated so that they have a nice coating of oil on the outside of them. It's baked on and it looks nice and black. And it's good to season both the aluminum and the cast iron. And after you use your Dutch oven and wash it out, a light soap and rinse it out, get all the food particles that are stuck on it, rub it with another coat of vegetable oil and lay it in there to keep it. If you don't put something on it, it will rust. Normally, if it's like this has been well seasoned, it will last and not rust, but you don't want to take the chance. If there's any place that does have, like this right here, it doesn't have a strong seasoning, it will get rust on it almost immediately. And so you want to wipe it down, wipe your lid, wipe the whole thing down and put it up until you use it the next time. One interesting thing about Dutch ovens is as far as the heat. Like I said, anything you can do at home, you can do here. For example, what we're going to make today, we're going to make an upside down cake. And I typically like to use Jiffy Mix because you can mix it all while you're camping. It takes an egg and water. They didn't have any naturally at the store this time. So I bought this one, never used this before, but it's a Duncan Hines mix. Calls for 350 degrees and cook for 35 minutes. Well, to figure out your heat, typically how you do it is, this is a 12-inch Dutch oven. And you figure 12, it's a 12-inch, 12 times 2 is 24. 24 coals around this thing will give you 350 degrees. And a 6-inch would be 12 coals. And if you had 24-inch, it'd be twice the 24, so it'd be 48 coals. Around the thing would be 350 degrees. For every 25 degrees you want to add to your fire, you would add, if you wanted to add another 100 degrees, you'd add 4 more coals. Each coal counts as 25 degrees. So that's how you can figure up your temperature. And it's a whole lot more difficult if you're using hardwood outside or you're camping. You just kind of play it by ear and by feel. But with good charcoal briquettes, like Kingsford briquettes or a brand name briquette, they're pretty good. And I like the Kingsford because they're pretty stable and that the temperature and the degrees come out fairly accurate. If you get 24 coals, it'll be pretty close to 350 degrees. And then when you put your coals on, you want to stack them around the lid. This thing is curved. You stack them around the lid and the heat is transferred out and radiates down from that lid. You put them on the bottom, and as you see, the Dutch oven has legs. Not like a typical Dutch oven that they used to cook with in the old days. For camping, they have legs on. One important thing with aluminum on, if you use it in an open fire get hot, and it actually melt aluminum legs off of aluminum Dutch oven. It won't hurt a cast iron one, but you got to be careful if you're cooking in real wood. When you put them on, to use the coals, what we're going to do is, as a matter of fact, they're just about hot enough to use. I'm going to demonstrate what you do. Before I do that, though, I want to show you a couple things before we get into that. There's some things you can buy to use with your Dutch oven, and they're a lid lifter. This is a lid lifter. You can hook it on. It's got a little foot and you can lift your lid up and take it off. It's nice, but as you can see, it's really a little difficult to control. The best thing to use is just a little vice grips or pliers. You can grab a hold of it and you can control it and you can put it. And the other thing you want to do is you want to have something to sit it on when you take it off, because typically you're camping out, and if you don't have something to put it on, the only place you got is on the ground. You don't want to get your lid dirty. So if you have like a pie pan, turn it upside down, put your lid on it. It doesn't get dirty and it's protected. Or you can use pliers. The other thing that pie pan is beneficial for is if you're cooking biscuits or pizza or something like that. Put your pie pan in the Dutch oven and put your biscuit pan on top of it, and they'll cook just like in your oven at home, or a pie. If you had a pie in there, you have another pie pan, sit it on top of there, and it would cook just like you were making it in your oven at home. Okay, back to our coals. Typically, what you would do, and these are hot now. Here's another thing that you want to have is you do a lot of outdoor cooking with coals, is one of the chimneys. They don't cost very much, and they're able to manipulate and move your coals around very easy. But in this case, what you can do, I got those coals hot in there. It takes about 15-20 minutes to get nice and white, and that's when they're ready to go. What are you going to do if you're making a roast or something like that, or something you want to seal the heat, seal the flavor in? You can put all the coals down first and get the thing hot, and when it gets the thing gets hot, the skillet gets hot, then you can sear your meat in there, put a little oil. And for our cake, what we're going to do, we're not going to use any oil, but we're going to use some butter. We're going to melt that in the bottom of the Dutch oven. And using all the coals, they get hot faster, so that's why we're kind of doing that. We'll put them in there. And if you had a roast, you put some butter, or vegetable oil would be the best thing, but put it in the bottom of it, get it to melt. This to make the top of our pineapple upside down cake nice and crispy. For this, in this particular instance, we're putting some butter in. If you made a regular cake or whatever, you probably just put a little oil in the bottom of it and dump your cake mix in, or brownies or something like that. But this particular one, I normally make it with my Boy Scouts, and we make a big one. We make a 24-inch one, but this is be half the size, but make it just like this. And then the next thing, that after you get your butter to melt on the bottom, you want to put a little brown sugar in. And just sprinkle some brown sugar around until you kind of cover the bottom. Make it nice and sweet. Okay. And then after you do that, just get the sliced pineapple in a can. Hold the lid off. And arrange it just like Mom does at home. Then what you want to do, I got some maraschino cherries. Put the cherry in the middle of them. So that's what you look. That's what you got now. You got your bottom, your top of the cake laid in there, and to make time go quicker, rather than waste a lot of time on mixing it, I pre-mixed it. What I did, I pre-mixed it in a plastic bag. The cake mix. And what you can do, mix it in a plastic bag, and then cut the end out and squeeze it right into there. Save you a lot of work mixing out while you're at. Just squeeze it in there. That'll do it. Now we got our cake in there. It's ready to go. And one good thing to have is a set of tongs, because you're going to have to manipulate those coals. Now I got them all down here to get it hot. Now what we're going to do, we're going to put, in this case, because you want the bottom of it to get some heat so it caramelizes and gets a little bit crispy. Typically you would not put 12 and 12. You would put less coals on the bottom because you want the heat to radiate down. Typically what you would do is put 3 or 4 more coals on the top, which would give you maybe 15, 16 on the top and less on the bottom. But in this case, I'm going to put about 10 or 11 on the bottom. And then just sit her on top of those. Then put the lid on. Then what you do, we'll put about 10 or we'll put about 12 on top here. The other 2 on there that I did put on the bottom. Okay. Now, that'll cook for about 35 minutes, and we'll have a nice upside down cake. It's important as you do it, it's going to generate the heat and get hot inside. And you don't want to keep picking up your lid and looking at it all the time, because you're going to lose all your heat like if you opened up your stove at home. So once you get it on there, as you get closer to that time when it's to be done, you can take your pliers or whatever, lift it up and check it. One thing to watch for, if you got something in it, typically this won't steam like that, but if you had a roast or chickens in there with some broth cooking in it, if you see steam coming out from around the edge of your lid, it's too hot. It's either too hot or your lid's not sealed properly. You shouldn't see any steam escaping from the side. It should all be sealed in. If it's steam escaping out of the side, whatever you got's probably going to be dried out, because all your moisture's leaving the product. So right now we got about a 35-minute wait for it to cook, and at about that point in time we'll pick it up, we'll look at it, and then we'll dump it upside down, and we'll offer it to the staff for lunch. Thanks. Rim around the edge so it doesn't stick there. Got quite a ways to drop, so it might fall. So, flip it. Burn my hand. Voila. Pineapple upside down cake, one out of place. It always happens. There's always one rascal. There we go. Nice, fresh, hot. Now, one thing I wanted to tell you also, as you cook with the Dutch ovens, you'll find different things you can do to make it easier on yourself. And while you're learning, if you just go 12 on top and 12 on the bottom, like for a 12-inch stove, you'll be all right. But you'll learn what to have more of and what to have less of. The other thing I wanted to tell you about is that if you have multiple Dutch ovens, you can cook your whole meal on there at the same time. Like for example, the roast, a pot roast would be probably take a long time to cook. So you put it on your bottom Dutch oven, put your coals on the bottom, your Dutch oven, coals on the top. Then you can set another Dutch oven on top of it with the next longest thing when it's time to go on. Put coals on top of it, and then you can do the same with another one. So you can actually cook a roast, you can cook a cake, you can cook rolls, you can cook your beans. Everything can be done at the same time. You pull them off and one by one and you're ready to eat. Just eat out of your pans. I mentioned earlier seasoning too. It's important to have them seasoned, and otherwise it'll rust. The way you season it, I didn't tell you that, is that the way I season mine, you do it one of two ways. I use my grill. I'll turn my grill on high, coat all the surfaces with vegetable oil, and leave it in there until it bakes on at probably 30-35 minutes, and it'll be black. Or you do it, which your wife or you may not like to do, in your oven, because it kind of stinks in the house. So it's better to do it outside if you have a gas grill or something like that, and you can season it accordingly. So thank you. I hope you enjoy it. I know we're going to enjoy this cake. See you later.